Third, Boston Podcast. Harrison Smith and Nick Arno are breaking down every pitch, every game, and every series. Live every week. This is your home for all things Red Sox. Let's talk.
Welcome into our very first Rounding Third Boston. So excited to start this podcast. But I'm Nick, and we have Harrison as usual. How are we doing, Harrison?
Fantastic, Nick. I mean, we threw this idea out, like a year ago of let's just do a Red Sox podcast. We're like, we'll get to it. It's awesome that we're getting to it.
Yes. So for those of you that do watch and tune in to our Rounding Third Baseball podcast, we are doing that also in addition to this one. So this one's Red Sox focused. The one that will immediately follow this podcast will be the league-wide Rounding Third. So Facebook won't allow us to stream on our new page that we created for the first few weeks. So you'll see us here on the Rounding Third Baseball page. And then eventually it will go live on the Rounding Third Baseball Boston page. So
we'll get it all figured out. But either way, we're talking Sox, so let's do it.
Exactly. All right. So before we get going, make sure you follow and like us on Facebook. You can follow on Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, TikTok, all the platforms. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, our affiliate programs you'll find at the top of our social media pages. If you buy products from these companies, Dick's, MLB Shop, or Lids, we get a nice little kickback. You don't have to spend any extra money, just whatever you buy from them. We get a nice little percentage back to help support us and further the content that we're able to bring you. So please do that. All right, here we go, Harrison. We're going to start off with what our favorite Red Sox player is at each position, just to give you guys a heads up of like where we're coming from Red Sox fans. So give you guys like a base of what we kind of like in a baseball player. This just gives you guys an idea of who our favorite players were or are from the Boston Red Sox of all time. So
see what level of homerism we suffer from.
Exactly. So we will get into the outlook of 2025 later on, but this will be just our favorite players at each position of all time. And we'll start off with you, Harrison. So go right ahead.
Marvelous. I made some late changes here, Nick, on you, so don't be surprised if it's a little different. But anyways, so for me, I'll work outfield back to infield. For me, left field, it's Ted Williams. I started off with Manny Ramirez, and I'm like, I didn't see Ted play. Obviously, I'm not old enough, but he's still the guy. I read his book a bunch of times. I still think he's probably the greatest player in baseball history. To me, he's like the ultimate Red Sox. Whether I saw him play or not, doesn't matter. Love Ted Williams. I've got a picture of him and Mickey Mantle hanging up on my wall over there. So just a huge, splendid Splinter fan. So to me, it's Ted Williams is my all-time left fielder. Moving to center's hard. Like the Red Sox have been lucky to have some good center fielders. Even going back deep into history, you've got a long line of center fielders, but I always loved Johnny Damon because, again, he's one of the band of idiots, but all the jumping, diving catches that he'd make, the times he'd bang off the wall, he had no arm. But he was always in the right place. If he needed to, Manny would cut him off. And then, at the plate, he did a lot of things for you. Stole bases, got hit massive home runs in the 2004 ALCS we'll talk about later. But to me, Johnny Damon is probably my favorite center fielder of that group. Right field, Trot Nixon. I mean, the ultimate dirt dog, one of the originals. Hard, and there's really not much more to say about Trot Nixon. That dude never left the ballpark with a clean uniform. That's what I loved about him. And now you move around the infield. Kevin Youkilis at third. I used to love Uke, the Greek god of walks. As strange as his batting stance was and all that stuff, I still loved him. I did not put Dustin Pedroia in at second. I loved John Valentin. When I was a kid, I watched a lot of John Valentin. I struggle not to put Petey there, but really, when I think of Red Sox second baseman, I think of John Valentin because I watched him for years. I know he played more third base and second base, significantly more, but I'll get back to that. So Youkilis at third, Nomar at short. Nomar's my favorite player ever, period, end of story. Valentin at second. I loved watching Valentin the year that he moved to second when Nomar came up. It was a big deal. I watched a lot of John Valentin as a kid. He had that long swing, hit lots of balls up into the monster netting back then, Nick, not seats.
Yeah.
I was always a Johnny V fan, just going back to when I was a young kid. And then at first I put Ortiz. I know more so a DH, but Ortiz to me was, the ultimate clutch hitter ever. Catcher, Jason Varitek. I mean, is there really any other catcher in Red Sox history you would talk about besides Varitek? I mean, the captain is the
I
captain.
mean, Carlton Fisk, but
yeah.
I mean,
still, when you think of Red Sox and you think of everything they've accomplished, like it just goes right to Varitek.
Yeah.
And punching A-Rod in the face doesn't hurt.
Yeah, right.
Roger Clemens on the mound. Again, grew up watching the Rocket. I tried to pitch like him with the glove up high, hiding my face. Like, we all tried to mimic him. And then my wild card spot I gave to Tim Wakefield, RIP. Love Wake. He was so important to what the Red Sox did for all those years. Never got the appreciation or the run support he deserved. But I loved everything Wake stood for on the field, in the community, in the clubhouse. Like, he was the ultimate Red Sox player for me.
Yeah. And John, maybe Carl Everett should go in the wild card spot, because you never knew what that guy was going to be. And a wild card is exactly how you would describe that guy. So,
well, and it's funny,
crazy.
like thinking about this, like I thought of so many players I hadn't thought of in a long time. Carl Everett, Cliff Floyd, Jeff Fry. Like, you just start thinking of these names of players you've seen, and you're like, man, I haven't thought of that guy in ages.
Yeah.
And the Red Sox have had their fair share of colorful players for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
Everett was a disaster.
Yeah. All right. My turn. Here we go. My favorite Red Sox players of all time by position. Mike Greenwell in left for me. And this is just because the first time I ever went to Fenway Park, he was playing left field at the time. So that's just more of a nostalgic pick. Not necessarily my favorite guy in left field ever, but just a nostalgic pick for me. He was the first, name that like I recognized seeing my first trip to Fenway ever. So
yeah, I remember being a little kid. It was Mike Greenwell, Wade Boggs, like those.
Yeah.
That like the group that began to turn over.
Yeah. For me in center, I don't think I've seen. It was tough, just like you said. But Jackie Bradley Jr. with the glove out there and a rocket arm. This guy I was flat-footed from home plate, throw it into the bleachers in dead center. Like, that's crazy. It's 430 feet away. It was Jackie Bradley for me, strictly from defense. Mookie Betts here. This one's sad for me to put here because of 2018 and everything that transpired there. But it's Mookie Betts in right field for me. I still can't believe the Red Sox didn't find a way to keep him there forever. I don't care what he wanted for money. He could have asked for $1 billion. I would have paid it to him to keep him in Boston. But
yeah, if I could pick a favorite outfield of all time, it would be Betts, Bradley, and Benintendi.
Oh, the Killer Bees.
The 18-19 group. I mean, that group was so fun. And then when they won, they'd roll the camera out there, and it was such a fun group.
Yep. For me, Mo Vaughn at first. This started. I went to Mo Vaughn hitting camp. My mom and dad sent me to a Mo Vaughn hitting camp, and I just absolutely idolized that guy when he was playing. Just the huge presence he had in the box. He would hit some mammoth shots too.
And that weird hunched over stance.
Yeah, but man, and he was a massive guy. He was like the three of me wide. Like, he put his arm around me to take a picture, and like my whole shoulder just sagged. I was like, dude, all right, crazy. Dustin Pedroia for sure. I mean, we've talked about his Hall of Fame status. Hasn't played long enough. The dirty slide by Machado took him out, but he's a Hall of Famer in my book. The way he played the game is how every baseball player should play. He was just electric to watch at second base. One of my favorite plays I've ever seen was, I think it was a trickler up the first base line. They overthrew the first baseman. It was in Texas. It ricochets off the right field like facade that angles in, and Dustin Pedroia is somehow there to catch it and pick off the runner that was rounding first base because he thought he was going to go for a double. Just crazy heads up play, but it's Dustin Pedroia for me at second. Nomar Garciaparra, who I got to meet at the Mo Vaughn hitting camp, which was crazy. That was so much fun. And Nomar wasn't Nomar yet at that point. He was just a high touted prospect. It was really cool to see him there. Third base was tough for me. I almost went Wade Boggs, almost went Rafi Devers. But I loved Mike Lowell, and Mike Lowell starts with the AA Marlins. And when I was living in Portland, got to see Mike Lowell come up through Portland, get to the Marlins. So I got to follow his career quite a bit going up. So for me, it's Mike Lowell at third, and everything he brought to the Red Sox when he was there. I mean,
what an
guy was
amazing
consistent.
pickup for the Red Sox.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason Varitek is my favorite player of all time. Just everything about him I love. He's one of the only players to play in a Little League, college, and MLB World Series. Just crazy. And then Tim Wakefield for me on the mound, just because every time I went to Fenway Park, Tim Wakefield was pitching. So that was that.
Yeah,
I
mean, I feel the same way. I feel like I saw him pitch like every other time I went. It was Wakefield. It's like, does this guy pitch like every day, literally?
Yep. And as much as I love Varitek, if I have Wakefield on the mound, I have to have Marabelli in the wild card spot to catch him, because we all saw what happened when Varitek tried to catch Wakefield. It was a disaster. And then they open up the center field door. Marabelli comes in on a golf cart. Fenway Park just pretty much gets blown away because the fans are screaming their heads off. He puts on the gear pretty much straight out of the golf cart, gets behind the plate, and saves the game. So
there's no place on earth where a backup catcher gets a standing ovation.
Yeah,
in an in-season trade.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. That moment was awesome. But so yeah, some pretty cool names on there for sure. But
it's funny you say this, John, because we said this. We did the the pre-pitch batting stances. Jim Thome versus Nomar on one of our this or that's a couple weeks ago, and we said the same thing. Nomar would be a pitch clock violation like every pitch, because the dude took forever to get in the box. By the time he fixed his gloves, then finally got in, adjusted himself, twirled the bat, kicked his feet, he took forever. Yeah. And the pitch clock would not be friendly.
Yeah. Surprise, no Pedro. Listen, I have seen Pedro live. I was behind home plate every pitch. Like, you could see me in the upper left corner when you watched it at home. So like, that's how close I was. I've seen Pedro pitch live, and I think my jaw was just on the floor the entire time. Pedro's way up there for me, honestly. Yeah. But this is like favorite, and it's everything that Tim Wakefield brought to the Boston organization, kind of like Harrison said earlier. But yeah, it's close. I mean, there's a lot of guys I could go 1A, 1B, 1C at a lot of these positions. It was tough for me to narrow it down, but Pedro should be on there for sure. But these are just personal favorites, not so much best. Because if we did best lineups, this would look completely different.
Oh yeah, but it would look very different.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, you think of your favorite players, and your favorite players are favorite players for different reasons. Like, I loved Mo Vaughn, and originally he was my pick. Then I'm like, but I really like, when I think about the Red Sox and everything they accomplished, like, I go to Ortiz. Like,
yeah.
So I went back and forth on a number of these because there's so many great choices. I mean, at least like in our time as Red Sox fans, there have been so many great players to come through Boston. But really, it's been the last 25 years that I feel it has been like the golden age of Red Sox baseball. Probably just between like 2000 and 2018 was probably like the best stretch of baseball for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Since way back, in the 20s.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question. I mean, obviously everybody knows how electric Pedro Martinez was, and he was a blast to watch. I mean, every time he was on the mound, it was must-see TV for sure. But it's just crazy.
Freddie Garcia, that strange little delivery, and everything moved with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would imagine Pedro against Freddie Garcia in their prime in Seattle. That was probably a really fast game with not a lot of runs scored.
Yeah.
And a ton of change-ups thrown.
Yeah. All right. We are going to move on to our favorite Red Sox moments of all time. So again, this is another one where we could have a top 10, really. Because, I mean, there's just been so many great moments in the Red Sox history. But we picked our favorite two. So, Harrison, go ahead.
I mean, for me, the 2004 ALCS is like the pinnacle of Red Sox baseball in my lifetime. you think of everything building up to '04. You had the 99 All-Star game, which was a huge deal, brought a lot of attention to Fenway. The Red Sox were beginning to turn. Nomar was in his second or third year at that point, third year in 99. Like the climb was starting. And then you had the playoff exits and the constant second place finishes. And then '03 when they got their hearts broken by Aaron Boone.
Oh.
And then to come out in '04 and go down 3-0 and just sitting there, every fan sitting there going, here we go again. Same story. We've seen this before. And then, game 4, you've got the Dave Roberts stolen base, the Bill Miller hit, the David Ortiz walk-off. Momentum builds, and that team just ends up taking the series, crushing really. I mean, the Yankees took years to recover from that. Like that team, with all the talent they had, Sheffield and A-Rod, like they couldn't get it done after that. And that just loomed so large over the Yankees. The Red Sox broke through and won, and then carried that momentum really for the next 14 years, and took 3 more World Series. But I look at the 2004 ALCS. That was the absolute pinnacle of Red Sox baseball, the height of the Red Sox Yankees feud. Really, it wasn't even like it wasn't a rivalry; it was a feud. And that was the most fun period of baseball in my lifetime.
Yeah. And it was the turning point the Red Sox needed, like you said, to be successful the next 14 to 15 years. So
yeah, that was like the launching pad for what was to come.
Yeah. Yeah. And that team was just full of guys that genuinely loved each other. They played hard for each other. And you see it with all the documentaries that they've put out. Like they were, the definition of a team at that point.
Yeah. And that roster was not anywhere near the Yankees roster. Like
not even close.
The Yankees, it was an all-star team. Yeah. I mean, that team was loaded with talent. And the Red Sox just, they were the dirt dogs, the idiots, call them whatever you want to call them. But they just didn't care. That team just didn't care. They had eaten so much crap from the Yankees over the years.
Yeah.
They were just done.
Yeah.
And finally just said, enough's enough. We're just going to go play good baseball. And they did.
Yeah. All right. For me, it's not necessarily a Red Sox moment. It's more of like a Fenway Park moment mixed with a Red Sox moment here. And for me, it's the 1999 All-Star game.
Cool.
Ted Williams comes out, and you look at all these Hall of Famers, or should be Hall of Famers, on both 1999 All-Star rosters. And they're going up to Ted Williams. Like everybody had to shake his hand. Like, I mean, chills the entire time. The entire time that was happening. They named the All-Century team that night. I mean, the names that were on that team were just unreal.
Yeah. And Pete Rose was in the ballpark that night. First time MLB let him back on a field in a long time.
That's right. Because you're not going to leave him off the All-Century team. Like, come on.
I know.
You can't. So, yeah, that was just an incredible moment. And then Pedro just casually goes out and strikes out the first 5 of 6 in the first 2 innings. I mean, and all should be Hall of Famers. You got 3 Hall of Famers and 2 others that should be. So you got Barry Larkin, Larry Walker, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, Jeff Bagwell.
And I'll never forget Larry Walker. Like after the K, he just like shook his head. He was like, wow, and just walked back to the dugout.
Yeah. I mean,
he had no idea what to even make of what just happened.
Pedro didn't need help to get the juices flowing. And I can't imagine that pregame ritual or whatever they did, ceremony, didn't give him more juice to come out for an All-Star game and just be like, good morning, good afternoon, good night, see ya. But that whole 99 All-Star game moment for me, like, was one of the best for all time, and I'll never forget it. Like, just chills, like I said, chills the entire time.
Yeah, and I thought the coolest moment was the fact, like, the umpires, like, they were trying to get the players to get off the field to get ready to start the game because they were all crowded around Ted Williams, and they wouldn't leave. No. The players wouldn't leave. Like that game got started so much later because the players just wanted to hang out and talk to Ted Williams. And Ted Williams is asking guys like McGwire, like, do you smell burnt wood when you foul one back? Like, he's out there like talking, hitting with these guys. And it was just friggin' amazing. Yeah. That to me that's the best. There's never going to be an All-Star game that ever tops 99. Just won't happen. And the home run derby too. That was bananas.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would love to see another home run derby there at Fenway here soon. But
Oh man, that was nuts.
those monster seats would go for about $500,000 each during a home run derby.
You'd need to have like you need like catcher's gear up there because you would get killed by some of those balls coming in.
Yeah, yeah, man. But
And
yeah,
John, I'm with you. I've talked about this on the show many times. Buhner flipping over the right field wall in Fenway. It seemed like every time the Mariners came to town, Jay Buhner went over that right field wall trying to make a catch.
yeah.
You see that bald head shining on the way down. And then you got the Torrey Hunter one that might be the best one of all time, where you see nothing but feet.
Yep, that was the picture I had leading up to this moment, was the security guard in the back with both arms up, as you just see Torrey Hunter's legs sticking out.
Yeah, that wall has claimed so many players, but Jay Buhner,
Yeah.
it felt like every time they came to town.
Well, dude, the guy's like 6'7", so it's like shin high for him when he's going back against the wall. I can't even imagine.
Well, there's one time, I think that might be the one John's referencing, where like I don't even think Buhner saw the wall coming and just went like right over it. Like just flipped him right over it. And I don't think he saw it coming, but it was epic.
Yeah. All right. Red Sox off-season report card. So we're going to switch gears here. We're going to give grades. I gave the grades here. So if you don't like them, you can, give me the criticism. So
yeah,
Harrison,
little foreshadowing. I wish Nick was my teacher because he's an easy grader.
Well, listen, you know what I taught through all those years. So, anyways,
yeah, you taught Fight Club. Carry on.
Yeah. So here we go. So
in the chat, please share your comments. Tell us what you think.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So the Garrett Crochet trade, right? So we acquired Garrett Crochet from the White Sox. I said potential grade here is an A+ because he could come and give you Cy Young season. He has that potential. Actual grade, I'm saying a B because I think he is going to help the Red Sox quite a bit. But as I've said in the caption here, with the prospects we gave up and Crochet's injury history, it could be the downside of this trade. So that's why I ranked it as an actual grade as a B. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I agree with I to be fair, I agreed with your grades. I didn't go in there and doctor anything. Like I thought they were pretty fair. I think that Garrett Crochet could absolutely be another Chris Sale left-handed stud ace that wins 17 to 21 games. Like he could be that guy. Total shutdown ace. He could also have had one good season and be a total train wreck or end up with arm issues. So I think the Reds. So first of all, I agree with you taking the grade down because I think the Red Sox overpaid in the trade. They gave up a lot of prospects, Kyle Teal especially, who was your catcher of the future and was damn near ready for the MLB. You gave up a lot to get him. So first of all, I think you overpaid. That hurts a little bit. However, if he ends up being the 20-game winner we think he could be, you won't mind that.
No.
But secondly, it's a guy who you don't control long term, who has a lot of question marks, who's only really had one good season, has an injury history. Like there's a lot of things here that make you kind of go, maybe this isn't as good as we hoped. But I think he showed in a full healthy season last year that he has got elite level stuff.
Yes.
We just have to see more of it.
Now he is talking about an extension already. There has been, rumors floated out that he wants to extend here in Boston. So, if that extension was already done, I probably would have bumped the grade up a little bit to a B+, A-. But it hasn't officially been done yet, so that's why I have that there.
Yeah, and I think that an extension for him, the one thing I do think is I think his history is going to work against him.
I agree.
And he's not going to necessarily get the massive contract he might get. There's an article in The Athletic that kind of said they think that a reasonable estimate of an extension for him is probably going to be in the 5-year, $110 million range. That's probably a fair estimate. He's only 25, right? 26, 25?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So it's, 5 years gets him to 30. You're not on the hook for too long. You're not on the hook for necessarily a ton of money. I mean, 110 million is not chump change, but it gives you a chance to give him a real shot, but not be all in and stuck with an albatross of a contract for a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
But again, the guy he pitched for a terrible team with a 3.58 ERA last year, only threw 146 innings, but he made 32 starts. So kind of in that Blake Snell world of I go 5 innings. That's what I do.
Yeah.
But they're really good.
Yep.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Like I said, potential's there. Actual is the we'll see. That hence the B. But
yeah, and he's coming into the season. He and Skubal are again like the top end favorites to win the Cy Young.
Yeah.
So I think the whole world believes that we saw the real Garrett Crochet last year. I hope that's true.
Agree.
If it's not, this team's in a way different place than they thought.
Yep. All right. The next move they make, they sign Walker Buehler. So I go potential grade here, also an A+, because we've seen what Walker Buehler looks like when he is on his game and he's healthy. Actual grade, I said B+ here. And I put my reasoning as with a 1-year deal, he's on the ultimate prove it deal. No opt-outs, no team options, no mutual options, no nothing. It's just 1 year and done. So even with the arm issues in the past, I see Buehler coming in and just being his old former self, because he's got a lot on his career on this year. Like his chips are all in the center of the table, and he's got to go out and perform. And I think that works for him. So that's why I gave the actual grade a B+.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I mean, I might have gone like B or B-, but it's not because of him, but because I think Breslow, maybe missed this one a little bit. I can appreciate the 1-year deal with the true prove it. Hey, show us you're still the same Walker Buehler we saw a couple years ago. But there's no option. There's no vesting. Like, it's one and done. So if you get to the All-Star break and this dude is, 10-1 with a 2.4 ERA, well, he's leaving. Like, you're done. You've got there's no moves to retain him. And why would he negotiate an extension if he's out there killing it?
Right.
So, like, I feel like this is a situation where the Red Sox painted themselves into a corner of like, hey, we'll be the place where you relaunch your career, but then you're going to leave us. And we didn't think about that or build in any contingencies for that. So I feel like that's not Walker Buehler. That's the Red Sox missing an opportunity. Because let's not forget, in 2021, his last full season, he was 16-4 with a 2.47 ERA, and he led all of Major League Baseball 33 starts. I mean, this is a guy that was healthy. I mean, he made 30 starts in 2019, 8 in 2020, but that was the whole season. And then he made 12 in 22 when he got hurt, missed all of 23, came back last year as terrible as he found it. But then we saw him in the playoffs.
Right.
When it really mattered, and he had half a season to get back. Because you forget, like, when you miss a whole year, you don't just like come out throwing BBs minute one. Like, you got to find stuff, you got to adjust. So I think this is a great move in the sense of it gets you a really solid pitcher this year. But I think you missed an opportunity to have at least some mechanism to retain him if he goes out there and has a great season. Because if he does, he's leaving. And you basically just, like Adrian Beltre, you just helped him relaunch his career somewhere else. Yeah.
And that's possibly what's going to happen. But John, you're not wrong. 16+ wins, and dudes play different when 100+ millions on the line. You ain't joking. You ain't lying. That's a real thing.
This dude, I mean, Walker Buehler, he's going to be out there to prove it, to prove that the playoffs weren't a fluke, to prove he's still that guy, to prove he's still elite, and he wants to get paid. I just would have liked to have seen the Red Sox put something in that contract that at least gave them a shot to retain.
I agree. Yeah. So I'm with you there. I didn't really even think about that aspect of it. I was thinking more just kind of like on the field performance. But I think you're right. I think Breslow kind of missed that one a little bit. So
yeah, and I remember we talked about it a few weeks back, but like I feel like that's where Breslow. I think the Crochet trade and the Buehler signing showed that Breslow might be a little bit in over his head as a not a new GM or president of baseball, whatever they call him, or chief baseball officer, but as an inexperienced one. He hasn't been doing it a long, long time, and I think that he, there's some holes. Good off season, but some holes.
Well, and it's also strange that Buehler took this too, because like I would almost want an option just in case I did have my arm injury come back, or like maybe he knows he's 100%. I don't know, but injuries happen. But even as a player, I think I would want an option just to protect myself.
Yeah, and I think I think you've seen guys like Giolito sign the 2-year deal. You saw the Red Sox pick up Liam Hendricks. It was a 2-year because they knew the first year he'd miss. Same thing with Big Maple there. They did the same thing with a 2-year deal. Right. Paxton knowing he was going to miss part of the first year. But I think this contract is Walker Buehler saying, no, I'm good. I'm healthy, and I'm going to show you. Yeah. I'm going to go out there and shove this year and let you all bid for me later.
Yeah, I agree.
And honestly, I hope he does. I hope he goes out there and wins friggin' 20 games.
Same.
And the Red Sox benefit from that. But I really wish there's a chance to keep him longer.
Yep. All right, next one, Patrick Sandoval. Potential grade C+, actual grade D. His career numbers are not good, and he's coming off the internal brace procedure. So not the full-blown Tommy John, I guess, whatever the internal brace procedure looks like. I don't know. I'm not a surgeon, but I guess it's not technically Tommy John. But he's compiled a 19-45 record, granted with the Angels, but a 4 ERA, not really good. And he's not due to come back until the middle of the year at the absolute earliest. So that's why the grades are really low there. But if he comes back in July and he gives you some innings and gives these top of the rotation arms, some depth, and they can space out their starts and they're in the hunt for a playoff spot, he could potentially help this team. That's why I led to the C+ as a potential.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, Sandoval is more of a depth signing. He's a guy that he's another one of those guys who's teased you with some good stuff, but he's never really put it together. In 2022, he was 6-9 with a 2.91 ERA, made 27 starts through almost 150 innings, and struck out 151 guys. Like that, 2022 is like what people think he is, right? But he didn't do that in 19, 20, 21, 23, or 24. So I think people are holding out hope that he's that guy, and maybe he is. Maybe this all settles down and he's healthy and everything is good, but I view this as more of the depth signing. This is a guy who's going to pitch further down the rotation, and I don't expect a lot.
Yeah, and like I said, he's not coming back till middle to end July, early August, if at the earliest. That's what I've read. So if he is going to make an impact, it's just going to be down the stretch to rest the top arms. But and
I think you're totally right there, John. I think that being a lefty was attractive to the Red Sox because they are very right-hand heavy. Aside from Crochet, everybody else right now is going to be right-handed, which I don't think is totally abnormal, but I do think having another lefty around is probably a good idea.
Yep, agree. All right, and Aroldis Chapman here. I have potential grade a B-, actual grade C-. Another back end of their career closer. Can we just stop signing these 38-year-old closers that were good once? Now, listen.
Nick, he's only 37.
My bad. I mean, listen, Chapman still can bring it. He still has ridiculous stuff. Yeah. But everybody in the bullpen across the entire league can now bring it at 102, 103. Like, it's not an anomaly anymore. Like, Chapman isn't an anomaly anymore like he was early in his career. Like, nobody saw anything like Chapman. When he's on, he is disgusting, and he's unhittable. His slider, his two-seamer at 103, he's untouchable. But
it's obscene.
I don't know. I don't know. You've seen his ERA climb steadily over the last 4 seasons, as I said here. And I said not expecting much from his signing other than a few heart attack saves.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he's been basically a replacement level player for the last couple of years. And not much better than a replacement level player the couple of years before that. Like, he's a 37-year-old closer who still throws gas. I mean, last year he threw 61 2/3 innings and struck out 98 guys.
Yeah.
Also had a whip of 1.346.
Not great for a closer.
Yeah, and a 3.79 ERA. So I mean, is he still a closer? God, I hope not. But like you said, he still brings it, and a guy that throws that hard is still a threat. Like, he can still come in and shut teams down. I just, based on what you've seen from him in the last couple of years, I don't think he's that guy anymore. I think he's a a replacement level reliever, maybe a hair better. That's going to blow saves. Like he's going to be a bit of a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
But he's a name. He's got talk about postseason experience. He's got it. So I look at this and I agree with your grade. I think it's a it's a middle of the road move. It could be awesome. He could be great. It could be a disaster. But I one of the things I wanted the Red Sox get was a shutdown closer. You know, the Kenley Jansen experiment, well, not bad, wasn't great.
Right.
And we're going to back that up with Aroldis Chapman. Like the Red Sox have always had, when they've had success, they've always had that shutdown guy at the back end of the bullpen. Falk and Papelbon and Uhara. Like you just go down the list, like they've always had that guy.
Yep.
And they've been lacking that guy the last few years. Again, Jansen was good, but he wasn't great. Like and a lot of his saves were downright scary.
Yep.
But the Red Sox blew a ton of saves last year. Not just him, the whole team. Like you need that guy. This bullpen's been so bad. You cannot continue to fall apart in the ninth inning.
No, and I'm really shocked that they didn't really address the bullpen as a priority. Because as you said, they gave up a lot of runs late to lose games last year, and they
brutal.
need, man.
I mean, brutal. It was literally like if I checked the score and it was the seventh inning and they were up like 5-3, I'm like, oh, they're going to lose tonight. And sure enough, it'd be like 7-6 final score. They lost.
Yeah.
I mean, they just that you've invested in the starting rotation. Amen. You've got the right pieces in the lineup. Amen. The bullpen's still a bit scary, and you can't continue to blow 20, 30 saves a year, and think you're going to compete.
No, I mean, I think that you'll see Whitlock end up going to the bullpen. Maybe eventually when Giolito gets back, and hopefully early May, I think they're shooting for Giolito to be back. Or maybe you have a 6-man rotation. I don't know, but Cora is going to have to work that bullpen a little bit to see what he can get out of it. But
yeah, so last year the Red Sox blew as a team. They blew 31 saves in 69 opportunities. They saved 55% of games. That's not
a good number.
Like, I'm not good at math. I mean, baseball math. But like, I don't think that's good. I don't think when you save basically half the opportunities you get that's good.
No, not at all.
So,
but yeah. All right. 2025 outlook and bold season predictions for the Red Sox. Again, these are mine. Enter, take it as you may. I think second place finish in the AL East. Do you agree with that?
Yes, and I can't ignore John's comment. If this is a Mariners segment, it would be 2 minutes long. Must be nice to talk about move grades. John, we are so sorry for you. They are wasting that team out there, but we don't have to tell you that. But you're welcome to jump on the Red Sox bandwagon. We'll make room for you.
For sure.
So second place finish in the AL East. Yes, I agree. I think when you look at these teams, the Yankees are clear and away the top team in the AL East. I think the Red Sox have made the rotation improvements. They're still going to hit and they're still going to score runs. The bullpen's the question mark. So I think that's going to keep them in second place. The Orioles have taken a big step back.
Yes.
Now they may shock us. Maybe some of these young guys are going to be way better than advertised. Maybe Bradish comes back and he becomes your ace. I'm not super confident that Orioles team is going to be better than last year. I think they've taken a big step back. So I put them at third. I put the Blue Jays at fourth because they've made some moves. And if they get Manoah back, I think that's a big deal. And I put the Rays at fifth because I just think the Rays are rebuilding. They've still got some pieces. They're not going to be a doormat, but they're just not there.
That poor team's rebuilding in more ways than one. They're going to rebuild the whole stadium. Like, God,
yeah,
man,
they've got to rebuild a roof, a stadium. I mean, we should probably not say rebuild with the Rays anymore. That's kind of a painful comment for a Rays fan, if there are any out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the Red Sox have done enough to move up the ladder and finish second. I just think the Yankees are the clearly superior team.
Yep. So I think that's enough to get them a wild card appearance. And then kind of some bold season predictions here. I think Walker Buehler's a finalist for the Cy Young.
I hope you're right. I actually think that Crochet and Buehler are both potentially in that conversation.
Yeah. I leaned Bueller here because of the prove it deal. Because he's going to
Yeah.
go out and he's going to pitch his ass off for 32 starts. Hopefully, and I think he's going to be a finalist for the Cy Young here.
And I think the one thing to not forget about is the fact that with what the Red Sox have done this offseason, they've given the fan base some hope again.
Yes,
I think you're going to see the fan base come out again because the fan base the last couple of years has been unsure of whether or not they wanted to support this team or not. I think Fenway is going to be loud and engaged again, and a guy like Bueller feeds off that. As you saw in the playoffs, like he loves the big moment, the loud crowd. He feeds off that energy, and I do think that's part of why he came to Boston. I think he knows this is a good place to be, to try to resurrect your career. So I definitely think Bueller could be a finalist. I think Crochet could be a finalist. I think one of those two guys will be in that conversation.
Yeah, agree. And then I have Jarren Duran as an MVP candidate. What do you think about that bold prediction?
I think Jarren Duran proved last season that he is that guy. And I would argue that he's now pushing Rafi Devers out of the way as the face of the franchise. I think that what he did last year in terms of defense, hitting, stolen bases, power, his all-star game moment, I think I think Jarren Duran took that big leap forward to prove that he's here. He will be taken seriously. And I do think he is going to be the guy that leads this team. As good as Rafi is, Duran offers you the whole package. And I think that he will be the next Mookie Betts that the fan base falls in love with.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Because he does it all.
Yeah. So you agree with those 4 points then that I made?
I agree with those 4 points. Yeah, I think second place finish, wild card for sure. I think it's Bueller or Crochet. Pick one. I think they're in that running. And yeah, I think Jarren Duran I think he's an MVP contender for the foreseeable future.
Nice. All right.
As long as he doesn't yell at the fans and get suspended.
Yeah. So here, season record predictions. So we did kind of do this one together here. 89 and 73. Too many question marks with the health of the rotation and when they're coming back. No question they'll hit, but will they be able to prevent the runs? We kind of the late inning runs. We kind of talked about that with the bullpen. And I said the bullpen remains the weakest part of the team.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team last year that scored 751 runs. The hard part is they gave up 747. That was the most in the AL East. Yeah. Like you think about how bad the Blue Jays were, the Red Sox still gave up more runs. So it's bad. Like it's bad.
Yeah.
And I do think when you look at that rotation, I think the first point is crucial here. Crochet with an injury history. You've got Giolito coming back from injury. Bueller, who's still really coming back from injury. Sandoval coming back from injury. You got Bayo, Crawford, and Houck who aren't hurt. Hopefully they'd stay not hurt.
Right.
But you're leaning heavily on 3 guys right now, and then Sandoval, who's also a mix-in guy, who are coming off of not insignificant injuries in recent years. So I expect the Red Sox to be very careful with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
I expect them to manage Garrett Crochet's pitch count and innings very closely. I expect them to manage Giolito very closely. I expect them to manage Bueller very closely, at least through the first few months of the season, to see where these guys are at and what they can handle.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would like to see them go to a 6-man to start the season.
I've always hated the 6-man rotation, but I actually think I agree with you on this.
Yeah, you got to stretch them out and build them up. And then maybe later on, if they're looking good, they're feeling good, move Crawford to the bullpen or whoever you want to the bullpen. But I mean, Crawford was your most consistent starter for the Red Sox last year. As crazy as that might sound, I think the back end of the season was a little bit rough for him in patches. But
yeah, he and Houck had a great first half, and then they kind of came back to normal in the second half.
But I mean, that's baseball. Right. That's baseball. It's hard to carry it over 162.
Exactly. Over 162 games, your stats are going to come out where they should. You may have highs and lows, but if you kind of run it out, it's going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And John, you're absolutely right.
Sorry, go Harrison.
And John, you're absolutely right. And we had this conversation, like we thought about this in terms of a range. Like this is a team that could win 90 games if they're all healthy and they put it all together. It's also a team that can go 500 again if they have injuries and the bullpen continues to be a mess. So we kind of averaged it and said, look, we feel it's more likely they'll have a better season than they'll have another 500 season. So we kind of hedged our bets, called it 89. But I agree with you. This is a team that could win, 90 plus games. I'm just not I'm not ready to go out on that limb to say, yeah, everybody's going to be there and they're going to be totally good to go. Like something is going to happen and they're going to have to overcome it.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's also baseball. I mean, there's teams that go through it. Every team goes through adversity at some point during the season. So it's inevitable you're going to have a big injury.
Exactly. And the question with the Red Sox is going to be, do you have the depth?
Right.
And I think that when you look in the bullpen, you don't. When you look in the rotation, you've got some flexibility there. The lineup, you've got some flexibility there. I think you can withstand an injury in the starting rotation, unless it's like a big one, like Bueller or Crochet go down, then you're in trouble. But that's typical of any team. If your ace goes down, it is what it is. Yeah. I think you can withstand an injury in the lineup. You can move guys around and make that work. If you lose somebody important in the bullpen, you're in trouble.
Yep. Agreed.
Because there ain't nobody coming up to help you.
Yep. All right, Harrison. Who makes the team out of spring training? Marcelo Mayer, Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, or none of them and Vaughn Grissom does?
All right, I'm going to give you what I think is going to happen, then what I want to have happen.
Okay.
What I think is going to happen is that Vaughn Grissom makes the team out of spring training to give these guys a little bit more time. And I view that as the Red Sox are going to say, look, let's see how long we can get by with Grissom before it really starts to hurt. Give these guys a few more ABs to make sure that they're ready. What I want to have happen, if I was the GM, I would expect Roman Anthony to make this team. I don't think Campbell's quite ready, but I think he'd be a September call-up, and he's probably on the team next year, or maybe even a midseason guy if somebody's hurt or struggling. But I've seen Anthony live. I mean, there's no purer stroke in the system than his. He plays the outfield very well, very competent outfielder, good arm, good range, and can hit. I mean, the guy can just hit. I'm not going to say he's Juan Soto, but he's got full control of the strike zone. He hits everything and hits it hard. I mean, I watched that guy hit 2 balls in the same game out of Hadlock Field. And the one was a curveball, one was a fastball. Like he can hit anything. So I think that he's the most ready. I actually don't know what the future is for Marcelo Mayer. I think that he's been leapfrogged by Christian Campbell. I think if Trevor Story goes down, or if they can even trade Story, that makes a room for Mayer. I can see Mayer being trade bait. Yeah. I think the door is closing on Marcelo Mayer's opportunity in Boston.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Roman Anthony is the most ready out of these three. Campbell did get a call up last year, though. I'm pretty sure, didn't he? Towards the end, yeah.
Yep.
So, maybe they are leaning towards him instead of Grissom. But Rafaela gives you nice flexibility because he can play infield, he can play outfield. So if Roman Anthony does make the team, he goes to left or right or wherever you want to put him, and you bring Rafaela into second base there. Campbell is a second baseman, so that's nice. That's just kind of like you just plug him in and go. But I think I'm with you. I think Roman Anthony is the most ready out of the three at this moment.
And with Campbell, I would just specify, he did get a call up. He never got in a bat.
Okay.
We haven't seen him play, but he was up there as an emergency backup, I think, in case they needed somebody to go out there, but he never saw the field.
Gotcha.
But I think that I agree with exactly what you said, and I think we're thinking the same way on these guys. Roman Anthony is your best pure hitter. Christian Campbell is maybe your most exciting young hitter. And I think Rafaela, as we talked about on the show last week, Rafaela is the key to this whole thing. Vaughn Grissom makes the team, Rafaela plays the outfield. If Roman Anthony makes the team, Rafaela plays second base. If Campbell makes the team, Rafaela goes back to the outfield. Like Rafaela gives you that positional flexibility to allow you to slot all these guys in because he can play center, short, second. I mean, there's probably no position in the field he couldn't play.
Right.
You probably don't want to put catcher's gear on him, but he could probably do it.
Now,
and he's the wild card to making this whole thing work.
Now, the other wild card in this whole thing is the Red Sox are reportedly still in on Alex Bregman.
Yeah, I don't
It's
even believe that anymore.
I don't either, but I read it again last night, and they said that, you know, the Astros are almost telling Alex Bregman, like, we're good as well. So Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso are kind of in that same, like, realm of nowhere. So he could still end up in Boston, which then puts another whole wrench into this whole thing.
Yeah, if you sign Bregman to a 4, 5, 6 year deal, whatever you end up settling on, that's going to make it really hard to find a home for Campbell and Mayer, unless you plan to move Trevor Story, because Story's
Right.
got at least 2 more years on that contract, right?
Uh, I don't know, dude. He's been hurt the first 2 years he's been
It's
here.
hard to keep track of Trevor Story's contract because he plays so little.
I think it's got to be 2, right? He's been here for 3.
He signed a 6-year deal, not a 5.
Oh, crap.
Oh yeah, so he's here through 28. So you're stuck with you're either going to trade Trevor Story, or you're going to trade Mayer or Campbell or Mayer or Campbell to go find some pitching or something.
Yeah.
There's no block to Roman Anthony's progress. Like, if you have to, you'll just like DFA Massa and put him in left field. Like, there's nobody blocking Roman Anthony's climb to the major leagues. However, Campbell and Mayer will be blocked if you go and sign a guy like Bregman, unless you're eventually going to move Devers to first base and make Casas a DH, or make Devers a DH and move Bregman back to third and open second up again.
Which Devers said he's open to the DH spot, almost the big Poppy role. He said he's open to that.
Well,
and
who wouldn't be? Like, you're just going to show up and hit. Like, okay.
Well, and with Rafi's shoulder history, like, it could be, you know, it could be a good move to put him in DH so he doesn't have to go play the field. Don't put stress on that shoulder that doesn't need to be there. So,
Well, and let's not forget about the fact that Rafi Devers in the field is not helpful to you.
yeah,
Like,
right.
he's not a good fielder.
No,
I mean, as much as he's in air quotes improved, he's still a bottom of the league third baseman.
agree.
You know, and then you still got the Nolan Arenado rumors out there. And John, I'm with you. Nick and I kind of got into it last week. Like, these rumors are getting kind of insane.
Yeah.
You know, 1 minute Pete Alonso's going to Toronto. Now he doesn't want to sign. He wants to go to the Mets. Is he going to fire his agent? Is he not going to fire his agent? Bregman's going to go back to Houston, but he's got deals on the table. Like, this is the most insane thing I've ever heard. And I think it's just people lighting up Twitter with, like, whatever they think of now, they're going to call it a rumor. I don't think any of this is even true anymore.
No one knows what's going on.
The
Pete Alonso doesn't even know.
Right. The Astros came out and told Bregman the other day, we're not changing our order, like our offer to you. Like, it is what it is. Like, we're not doing any better than that. And if you want more than that, we're still not the team for you.
Yeah. John, the Sea Dogs hats have always been fire. That one's, I love that one. When they were the Marlins, the teal P with the Sea Dog. Oh my God.
The
so
teal
good.
is sick.
Yeah.
And Slugger the Sea Dog is a legend when it comes to mascots.
For sure. But,
I mean, I'm so thankful to be able to live close enough to them.
yeah.
You know, I'm 25 minutes away and now my kids are into it. So, like, we go a few times this summer. I love minor league baseball, everything about it.
Yeah. I've hit 2 home runs out of that park in my career, but
I hit one in the showcase, never in a game. I never actually played a game on that field, Nick. Never.
Oh, dude, it's unreal.
In all the years of AAU and Legion ball and tournaments and all that, like, I've played in the Portland area many times, but I've never played on that field, only for a showcase.
Hadlock's incredible. Yeah. All right, Harrison. Red Sox trivia. Here we go. Who's the only Red Sox player to hit for the cycle twice in their career? And you got to dial it way back.
I was going to ask how far back we going.
But it's like the Boys of Summer, the original Boys of Summer.
Oh, okay. So let me think. So are we going back as far as, like, Jimmy Fox?
No, a little bit after him.
Okay, so I mean, Ted was not a guy who's going to hit a lot of triples, so probably not Ted.
Nope, but it was Ted's teammate for a long time there.
Oh, who would have speed in that group? Not a guy like Pesky. Not. You said Ted's era, so not like Freddie Lynn. Bobby Dorr.
It is Bobby Dorr. Yes.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
2 cycles is pretty. I mean, a cycle is hard. I mean, 2 is.
I mean, unless you're Christian Yelich and you get 3 in the same season. But.
Well, and I will say Fenway has that quirky right field corner that's created a lot of triples that should have been singles.
Yep. Yeah, you had Pesky, Dorr, Williams, and Dom DiMaggio there.
Oh, that's right. Dom, same time frame.
Yeah. So, all right. Next one. Who is the all-time career hits leader for the Double-A affiliate, Portland Sea Dogs?
Boy, I feel like Marcelo Mayer's been there forever, but he really hasn't. What about a guy like did Pedroia come up through Hadlock? He would have, right?
He did, but it's not Pedroia.
See,
It's
some of these guys are there such a short period of time.
It's before Pedroia. And
Hanley?
Nope, before Hanley. He was on the 04 Red Sox team. Now, this is tricky because he came up as a Marlin.
Lowell?
Not Lowell, before him.
Jeez. Oh, so you said he was on the 04 team. Okay, so not Lowell. Millar.
It is Kevin Millar. Yep, 326 hits.
I always, whenever I go to Hadlock and see his jersey hanging up on the back wall, I always forget that he came up with the Marlins.
Yep, absolutely.
And the Red Sox loved him from the minute he came up. That's why they traded for him.
Yeah. All right. What was the reasoning behind Boston choosing Red Sox with an X over Red Sox for their name?
This was something to do with how it was going to like appear, right? Like on signage or uniforms or something. It was all about like the appearance, right?
It's on their uniform, right? So it's 3 and 3. So it's 3 and 3 on each side. That's exactly why. Yeah,
I remember there being some like marketing presentation angle as to why they did it that way.
Yeah, because I guess they had it spelled out like CKS, and they're like, that looks horrendous. So then that's when they just went with the X.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Which two pitchers are tied for the franchise lead in wins with 192?
Oh, it's got to be Clemens and Cy Young.
It is. Yep, Cy Young and Roger Clemens. I had to double check this one because Cy Young's got 511 wins or whatever that ridiculous total is, and I was like, I thought he was in Boston longer than to compile only 192. I thought that was low, so I was like, that can't be right, but it is. He got a lot of his other wins with other teams. So.
Yeah, and what amazes me is like Pedro didn't have that many more wins than 192 in his whole career, and he's a name like you think of as having won a ton of games there, which he did.
Yep. And then the other question, we had this like similar result. They have the same amount of shutouts too, which I think was like 38.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have the same amount of shutouts in Red Sox history.
Wow,
38.
That's something.
Yeah, pretty cool. All right. Recent trivia. Who hit the most home runs for the Red Sox in 2024?
Oh, goodness. So it wasn't Devers because he missed a bunch of the year. It wasn't Duran. He had a bunch. Costas missed a bunch of time. Oh, it's got to be Tyler O'Neill.
It is Tyler O'Neill, 31. I didn't think he got to the 30 mark, but he did. 31.
Yeah, he
Tyler O'Neill.
Bunch late in the season when he came back.
Yep. So Tyler,
John, Cy Young, 500 wins, pumping probably 73 miles an hour
on a good day.
I would love to know, and I know they tried to study this, and they really don't have a way of telling. But I'd love to know how hard those guys threw in the early days, because everybody talks about Walter Johnson threw gas, but like, what did he really throw? Like, what was gas back then?
Right, and they were throwing a sock for crying out loud. They weren't throwing a hard ball. So
no, I'd love to know what those guys actually threw for velocity and how that would translate today.
Yeah, I try to throw my socks into my hamper as fast as I can, and I probably clock it at like 37. So I can't imagine they were throwing triple digits back in the 1900s. But
no, but I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if there were some guys breaking 90. Like, there's some guys that had like big arms, but
for sure.
But like, you look at the mechanics and all that. Like, there's no way these guys were consistently throwing hard, like that hard.
No. All right. Where are the initials TAY and JRY located in Fenway Park?
Oh yeah, Tom and Gene Yockey's initials. They're on the monster somewhere. But where it's on the scoreboard. Yeah, it is. I'm trying to remember. Isn't like in the edging?
Yes, and it's in Morse code.
Oh, that's right. It's Morse code.
So up the stripes of the team scoreboard is their initials in Morse code. Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of Red Sox fans know that, but maybe if you're watching and you're not necessarily like a Red Sox diehard, you don't know that. But yeah, Yeah, Tom and Gene Yaki, their initials in Morse code are on the scoreboard.
And it's funny because I've been to Fenway many times with people that have been there for the very first time. And like, I don't think the average Red Sox fan knows they're there, but like, we don't even notice anymore.
Right.
Like new people are like, why they should paint that? It's like, no, you don't paint that. And here's why.
Yeah.
Like they didn't miss a spot, I promise.
Yeah, but pretty cool. All right. Red Sox 2024 season totals, higher or lower?
Oh boy, okay.
So I'll give you a category and a number. You got to tell me if it was higher or lower. Here we go. Red Sox team home runs at 200.
Oh man, they actually hit quite a few. I'm going to say they were higher.
Lower.
Oh, 194. All right.
194. All right. 2024 Red Sox team stolen bases at 140.
I mean, between Hamilton and it's got to be higher.
It is higher. Nice job. 144.
Okay. I mean that was the most the Red Sox have run like
In a
combined
long
in
time.
years.
Yeah. All right. 2024 Red Sox team batting average 250. Higher or lower?
I mean, they hit. I feel like I'm going to say higher. I feel like they hit well enough.
Nice job, Harrison. 252.
So not by much.
Nope. It still ain't the 237 they got in their Mariners country. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that hurts.
Sorry, that was a low blow. I do apologize.
No.
Please stay. Okay.
Yeah, rough. Just turning viewers off. Nice, Nick.
Yeah. All right. 2024 Red Sox runs surrendered at 750.
Oh, I just said it earlier, so lower because they gave up 747.
Yes, nice job. 7. I was gonna, as soon as you were saying it, I was like, dang it. I was like, he's gonna get this one later.
Oh, yeah, you should have shut me off.
That's all good. All right. 2024 Red Sox pitching strikeouts. 1,300.
Oh, strikeouts. I'm going to go lower.
Higher.
Oh,
1353. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. I mean, pitching wasn't great, but apparently they K'd guys.
Yeah. And last one I got, 2024 Red Sox batting strikeouts at 1,550.
It's got to be more, right?
Yeah, it is. 1,570.
Yeah, I mean, the strikeout numbers just across the league are insane. I mean,
yeah,
that's a lot of Ks. I mean, you're talking what, almost 10 a game?
That's a lot of outs. That's a lot of games of just automatic outs. Well, I mean, not automatic outs, but I mean, you're not even putting the ball in play.
Yeah, no pressure on the defense.
0. Crazy.
That is 9.7 strikeouts per game. So that's like the first 3 innings of the game, you just gave all your outs to Ks.
Yeah, that's brutal.
You didn't start hitting until the 4th inning.
That was
John, Mariners 5,000. I mean, if you add up pitching and hitting, yeah, you're probably right.
God, brutal. But all right. And the last thing I have, Harrison, Red Sox moving truck day tomorrow, February 3rd. Let's go. They're on their way to Fort Myers. Baseball season is officially almost here when the Fenway truck starts heading south. It leaves tomorrow morning. So we are pumped for this season.
I love it. Like the truck is like the official, it's the first moment of hope that baseball is coming.
Yes.
And that is like, for people that aren't familiar with the Red Sox, like that is a holiday in Boston.
Yeah, 1,000%.
It's a holiday in Boston. Like people wait outside, they see the truck loading up, they see the truck pull away, like it gets a full send off. It is a holiday in New England.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Do you have anything else for our first Red Sox podcast?
I don't. I saw earlier today that Whitlock and Giolito are actually rehabbing together, and sounds like things are positive there. They're going to be in Florida here soon. The Bregman thing continues to swirl, but I don't think there's any legitimacy to it.
Fair.
I guess we'll see. But I mean, as a baseball fan, I'm pumped for baseball. I could not be more excited that we are in February and there's hope coming. As a Red Sox fan, I'm more excited this year than I've been the last few, when I thought this team had no hope. And I feel like they finally have some hope. And they also have a nice group of young guys coming up. And I think the future is bright. And I will put in my shameless plug. Chaim Bloom built the minor league system they asked for, and now we're going to finally reap the benefits of the work he did.
Agree. I can't remember the last time I've been this excited to watch the Red Sox. The last few off seasons have been, kind of like our Mariners fans that are in the chat tonight, is just like non-existent. Like, It's like, this team needs so much. Why aren't we doing anything? It's like, oh, well, we're out buying the PGA Tour. Well, okay, well, that doesn't help the Red Sox any. Like, good for you, but us fans
thanks for nothing.
Here, right, exactly. So I'm really excited. The young guys, like you said, that Bloom has brought to this organization is starting to come up. We're starting to see, the benefits of that. So I am beyond excited, and more excited to see what Crochet and Bueller bring to this team, because I can't wait to see them sling it.
Yeah, and honestly, like on the other end, I'm really excited for the young players. Like I'm really excited to see spring training with Anthony, and finally see Mayer and Campbell, and Grissom too. I mean, I think there's still a lot of potential with Grissom. I think a lot of us want to write him off because he had a bad year last year, and he hasn't quite gotten where they thought. But that is still a high ceiling player. You've got 4 very talented young players coming into spring training, fighting for one spot. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Yep, that's right. Let's
Love
go,
it.
T-Money.
Yeah. It feels like it's finally going to be a Red Sox season that's worth watching. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be entertaining, because honestly, the last couple of years watching them has been painful. I think there's a lot of reasons to be positive and feel good about 2025 as a Red Sox fan.
I agree.
And we're going to break it down every week. We'll be talking about the matchups, the highlights, the games, all of it, because we do it anyways. So might as well do it on the show.
Right. All right. So we are going to be back on in about 5 or 10 minutes for our regular Rounding Third podcast. So you can stick around. We'll be, back on to talk league-wide ball here. But before you go, hop over to Rounding Third Boston. Give us a like, give us a follow. Build that page up for us. That would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Even if you aren't Red Sox fans, like we had a few in the chat that, we know you root for other teams, but joined us for this show just to talk baseball. I mean, it's exciting for me and Harrison to do this. We've wanted to do this for a little while, and we're finally like, you know what? Screw it. Let's do it. And it's been awesome. This first one was great. So thanks everybody in the chat. And we will be back on later on with some more league-wide news.
That's a wrap.